I'm here with Sir David Bell, Vice-Chancellor at the University of Reading. We're here to talk about the relationship between staff and students here at the university and how the two work together to be partners in the learning process. What have been your first impressions of that relationship?
Well, I've been here for just under 2 years and I've been very struck actually by how positive that relationship is. People often talk about Reading as a very friendly university, and I think that's a characteristic of how staff and students work together. It's all very positive.
And the Student Charter is quite a key example of how staff and students have worked together to kind of lay out the expectations of that relationship. What's your take on that?
Yes, I mean, I think it was a really good example of a kind of mature discussion between students on the one hand and the university staff. Now, we didn't agree on absolutely everything, but by setting out our expectations as university staff and by students setting out their expectations of the university, we ended up with something that I think was really quite focused and crisp. But the fact we got to that point and were able to agree speaks, I think, very highly of the relationship there's been traditionally between staff and students here.
Absolutely, and I think it's really important to think about the Charter not just as a document full of expectations, but also how practically students can use it in their learning.
Yes.
Have you got any examples you could give?
Yes, that's a really good point actually, because it's the practical manifestation of the document that really matters. Take, for example, students who can become course reps, and they can start influencing the opinions of academic staff and how the course is going, maybe how the assessment is being done, how quickly feedback is being provided. That's really directly relevant to how good the academic experience is for students. If you're, as a student, you enjoy doing that, you can then become a faculty representative and have more engagement with the university more widely. I think another good example, Sophie, is where students can become researchers for the summer. We have a programme called Undergraduate Research Opportunities Programme, which allows students to work alongside academics, get paid for it, which is nice too, but perhaps much more importantly, to learn what it is to do research at a high level. So those are my examples, but I'm interested in what you think the best examples are of that partnership.
I think certainly just in the last year or so we can think of several where students and the Students' Union have worked with the university to create some really great things. I think some key examples would be the 15-day turnaround for feedback being implemented.
Yeah.
I think the 24-hour library at exam periods is excellent and something that students have shown that they wanted. And I think the new 24-hour study space as well is a good example of students highlighting concerns and then the university and the union working to resolve those.
And I think those are all good illustrations, again, where perhaps we start off with slightly different positions, but then we end up finding a solution that works for both staff and students.
Absolutely. I think the examples we've talked about so far are all quite formal, but I think it's worth noting that both the university and the Students' Union are always looking to develop opportunities and ways that students can engage in their own learning. Is it worth talking perhaps about some more informal ways that you feel you can communicate with students?
Yes, I mean, these are good formal arrangements, and it's important that students feel they can influence the formal activity of the university. But going back to what I said about the friendliness of the university, much of what makes that relationship tick between students and staff is that, generally speaking, it's informal, it's relaxed, people can take the opportunity to approach academic staff. I know from my own experience going around the university, much of what you pick up is informal, but that's still incredibly important when you are thinking about the future of the university and students being partners in learning.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. I think it's been a really positive conversation. I think it's also worth noting that obviously we're always looking for new ways for students to develop and new ways for students and staff to work together. And of course, with every new group of students comes a new range of needs and brand new ideas.